Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into the life of a man who represents, honestly, one of the most fascinating paradoxes in the entire history of world art. We are talking about Johannes Vermeer. Here's a guy who painted very little. He left behind only around 30 surviving works, and yet he's absolutely revered globally. When you stand right in front of his paintings, you invariably feel this incredible sense of quiet, this perfect light that's almost impossible to put into words. So let's jump right into this incredible story of mystery, tragedy, and ultimate triumph.
And here is the ultimate mystery I really want you to keep in the back of your mind as we go on this journey. How is it that a modest painter from a small Dutch town, someone who was completely forgotten by the world for nearly 200 years after he died, how does he manage to move countless viewers across the globe more than 3 centuries later? What exactly is the secret hidden in these canvases?
To really grasp the scale of this mystery, just take a look at this timeline. Vermeer dies in 1675, totally crushed by debt. By 1696, his masterpieces are being sold off super cheaply, often misattributed to other artists just so they could make a quick sale. He was entirely forgotten by the art world. His name was practically erased from history. It wasn't until 1866 that an exiled French critic miraculously pulled him back out of the shadows. It is just a stunning resurrection.
Section 1. The Forgotten Delft Genius.
Looking at this beautifully detailed map of Delft, you are literally seeing Vermeer's entire physical universe. He was born here in 1632, right at the height of the Dutch Golden Age, and he never left. His father ran an inn and also dealt in works of art, meaning young Johannes was exposed to painting and the art market right from the get-go. By the time he was 21, he had officially joined the Guild of St. Luke and kicked off his artistic career. It was really Delft's canals and its thriving commerce that shaped his incredibly quiet, observant eye.
Section 2. Faith, Family, and Pressure. 11. That is the massive number of children Vermeer and his wife Katharina had, who actually survived into adulthood, out of 15 born. Back in 1653, he married into her wealthy Catholic family, and even converted to Catholicism for her, which, as we'll see, profoundly influenced his art. But think about the sheer cost of supporting 11 kids on a limited income. It meant this undeniable genius was facing immense, crushing financial pressure every single day of his life.
And this comparison right here perfectly illustrates why that financial pressure was so dire. During the Dutch Golden Age, it was totally normal for painters like his contemporary Jan Steen to crank out dozens of works every single year. But Vermeer, he produced maybe 2 or 3. Max? He was just obsessively attentive to detail, the precise direction of light, the subtlest color shifts, the exact texture of surfaces. Now, this borderline perfectionist approach gave his work an unparalleled refinement, but practically speaking, it was basically economic suicide.
Section 3. The Alchemy of Light. Now, there is this highly debated, yet super fascinating theory that Vermeer used a camera obscura. As the definition shows here, it's basically an optical device that uses a lens to project an image onto a surface. A lot of scholars believe Vermeer used this gadget to capture light with a precision that feels almost tangible. We're talking about achieving exact perspective reduction and photographic clarity that were literally centuries ahead of their time.
So let's see how this actually translates into the artwork. Look really closely at this side-by-side comparison. On the right, in his painting, The Lace Maker, zero in on those out-of-focus red and white threads in the foreground. They look blurry, right? Almost exactly like a photograph where the foreground is completely out of the depth of field. This halation effect is a massive clue, and to a lot of experts, it's a clear sign that optical tools were actively at play in his studio.
But beyond optics, Vermeer had a very specific toolkit for his magic. In his paintings, light almost always enters from a window on the left, just gently falling on figures and furniture. Then there's his unique pointillé technique. This is where he used tiny granular stippled dots of paint to perfectly simulate the shimmer of light across different surfaces. And finally, he insisted on using extensively costly natural ultramarine pigment. Together, these techniques give his pictures this almost breathable quality, which is exactly why later generations dubbed him the Master of Light.
Section 4. Poetry of Everyday Life. While so many other painters were busy depicting these dramatic historical battles or grand religious subjects, Vermeer preferred the everyday lives of ordinary people. Take The Milkmaid, for example. This is one of the most important works from his mature period. You have a maidservant pouring milk with this intense, concentrated attention, while the sunlight from the window just cascades across her cap, her clothing, and that crusty bread on the table. Absolutely nothing dramatic is happening, yet the whole painting radiates the deep dignity of labor. He takes the most ordinary action and transforms it into something eternal. It's like he's letting us silently watch an afternoon from over 300 years ago.
Keep that exact image in your mind for a second, and just let this quote sink in. There is rarely any dramatic action in his scenes, yet they are suffused with a stillness in which time seems to stop. It hits the nail right on the head, doesn't it? Under Vermeer's brush, a woman simply reading a letter or a maid pouring milk is elevated from the completely mundane straight to the sacred.
Section 5. The famous Pearl Mystery.
And here she is, the painting often called the Mona Lisa of the North. But here's the really fascinating truth about this piece. It's not actually a portrait of a specific, real person. It's what's known as a tronie, a character study, and her actual identity has never been established. She just turns her head to look right at us, lips slightly parted like she's right about to say something. Honestly, it's precisely that enduring mystery that gives the work its boundless fascination.
But get ready for the grand illusion. Art historians now widely believe that the famous pearl, well, it isn't actually a pearl at all. Based on its enormous size and the way it reflects light, it's almost certainly a fake glass or tin imitation bead. But through Vermeer's absolute, uncompromising mastery of light, using literally just 2 simple brushstrokes of white and gray with that pointillé technique, he created a shimmering illusion that feels more real than reality itself. It is an absolute masterclass in visual manipulation.
Section 6. A Legacy Reclaimed.
Sadly, the fall of Vermeer was incredibly swift and brutal. Following a complete collapse of the Dutch economy and the local art market, his income essentially vanished overnight. By 1675, driven into an absolute frenzy by crushing debt and the overwhelming stress of providing for his massive family, Vermeer died suddenly. He was just 43 years old. His widow, Katharina, was instantly forced into bankruptcy, tragically having to trade away his painstaking masterpieces just to pay off the bakers and grocers.
And for nearly 200 years after that, total silence. He was virtually erased from art history. It wasn't until 1866 that an exiled French critic spent a solid decade obsessively hunting down Vermeer's scattered, misattributed works, slowly compiling the very first catalog of his art. Think about that. It took an exiled, stubborn critic to finally pull this master out of obscurity and save a stubbornly brilliant genius. And we are just so incredibly lucky that he did. I mean, look at these 2 breathtaking masterpieces on your screen. You have View of Delft on the left and The Art of Painting on the right. In The Art of Painting, which many scholars actually regard as his most important work, we get to see the artist himself. He's got his back turned, completely, totally absorbed in his craft. And in View of Delft, he perfectly freezes a quiet summer morning. It's like that exact moment hasn't moved a single second since 1660. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Vermeer sacrificed wealth, he sacrificed his health, and he even sacrificed contemporary fame simply because he refused to rush. He traded speed for absolute perfection. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. What truly makes art eternal? Is it the sheer volume and speed of its creation, or is it the uncompromising truth found in a single, perfectly captured ray of light? Thank you so much for exploring the magic of Vermeer with me today. Keep looking for the light in the everyday.